Hey there, I'm Lance and I'm a gamer.
And I'm Sam and I'm a non-gamer.
And we are Love to Hate, where we try to help gamers find great games to play with non-gamers.
And today we're taking a look at Meeples and Monsters by AEG Games.
Meeples and Monsters is a bag building game, which is one of my favorite mechanics, if not my favorite mechanic. And in this game, you are going to be pulling out lots of meeples from your bag. They're gonna be different colors that you are going to be placing on different spots on the board. It's a bit of a worker placement kind of set collection game, and you are going to be trying to build up your bag, but also trying to ward off different monsters. Let's take a look at it down below, and then we'll come back and share our gamer and non-gamer thoughts on this game.
All right, here's Meeples and Monsters on the table. Let me show you guys how this bag building, deck builder, worker placement game works. I do want to let you know this is the Kickstarter edition of the game, so some of the components may look different if you get the retail edition. And this takes up quite a bit of space. I have to back out quite a bit for you guys to see everything here, but this is going to be your main board. And you are going to have a board up here to keep track of the score, as well as some of the bigger monsters that are going to come later in the game. You get some cards in this game. You do have a solo expansion available to you. We'll come back to that here in a minute. You've got a ton of different workers of different colors. The tray is not included. That is something that I have here. And everybody also has their own player board, as well as a bag that they are going to be drawing their workers out of. Now, in this game, you are going to be drawing workers out of your bag, placing them on different spots to build tiles, to take on different monsters, in hopes of having the most points to be the winner. How a turn is going to work, everybody's going to start off with 4 workers. So in the beginning of the game, in your bag, you have 7 peasants and 3 corruption. The peasants are the white guys, and they're all going to be in your bag, but you're going to draw 4 out of your bag to begin a round. So let's just pretend that I drew these 2, corruption, and those 2 peasants, and we'll put the rest over here to the side to say that they are still in the bag. And you're going to place whatever you draw in the tavern side of your board here. So they're in your tavern, and they are ready to get to work. Well, the corruption guys are not. But I have 2 peasants here. Now, the first thing I can do, there is a development phase, and that's going to use this center part of the board here. And you have a choice to make. You can either build some tiles by using either one of these 2 spots. You can't do both, but you're going to build these tiles, placing them on these 4 rent spaces here. Or you're going to use this side over here, which is going to beef up your different workers, your mage, your cleric, your knight, your warriors. We'll come back to that here in just a second, but back to this. So these 2 spots here, I can place 2 peasants to build any one of these tiles, or I can place 1 peasant, I'll gain a peasant, and then I can build a tile. So to give you an example of what these tiles might do, placing a peasant beefs up my knights for that round, giving them +1 to their attack value. The House of Mercy is really nice. If I place a cleric, I get to search my bag for all the corruption and take it out of my bag for the rest of that round until I have to refresh my bag. So that's pretty nice. And then the Shamanic Temple, if I place a cleric and a mage, I'll lose the mage, but I'll gain a shaman. There's only 3 shaman available, so you want to be one of the first ones to use this tile to get the shaman, who are very strong. A couple others that I want to show you guys are the King of the Hill tiles. There's only 2 in the entire game, but this will come up in the review portion of the video, so I want to make sure to explain it to you here. They have these crown icons on them, and depending on what type of worker you place on these tiles, so the Mage Academy, you're either going to place a mage, a yellow mage, or a white peasant. Colosseum, you're going to place a blue warrior or a white peasant, and you're going to place one of your player tokens on the tile to denote that you have control over that tile, because if at the beginning of your turn nobody else bumped you off of that tile, then you're going to gain the benefits on the other side of the tile. So I get to increase how many workers I draw if it's the Mage Academy. If it is the Colosseum, I get victory points. That's big time. Player token, what I meant by that, everybody has their own little player tokens that they use to keep track of score on the score track, but you are also going to use these to control those King of the Hill tiles. Now, that is this side of the board, and you're placing them on these 4 rent spots when you build these tiles over here, gaining whatever is underneath it. And there are only 8 spots available on the board. So 8 buildings are going to get built, and then that's it, no more. This side over here, as I mentioned, you're going to be beefing up a worker. You have to use that specific color of worker. So for instance, if I wanted to beef up the cleric, I have to put a cleric over here, and I have to pay the victory point cost next to whatever level I am beefing up. So if I wanted to beef up my cleric to a level 2 cleric, I'm going to lose no victory points, so that's great. But if I were beefing him up to a level 3, I would lose 3 victory points. Well, why on earth would I want to do that? That is because these cards over here show you what you get whenever you beef up to a certain level. So a level 2 warrior increases his hit point value to 2. Instead of only doing 1 damage, as he is when he starts off the game, he's going to do 2 damage to different monsters. So that's pretty cool. And if I bump him up to a level 3, then he's going to give me some abilities at the bottom here. And you just put these cards on top of the spots that you have there to show you what workers you have. Now, that is the development phase. That's the center part of the board. The second part of the turn is going to be your main phase, and that is where you're using the rest of your workers you still have available to you to place on all the different other spots on the board. The 4 center spots are very simple to understand. You just place whatever's on the left side to gain whatever's on the right side. And that might mean that you lose something to gain whatever's on the right, but that's how those spots work. You can also place on any of these spots that have buildings built on top of them, such as the Colosseum, like I showed you earlier. That might be right here, for instance, and I could go there and place on top of that. The other spot that you could go is you could attack monsters. You'll see that there are different monster cards on these different slots in the different quadrants of the city. How a monster is going to work. You are going to need to place enough workers to equal or exceed the hit value here in the top left. So this termite needs 3 attack points assigned to it to be able to be defeated. Again, going back to your player board here, you're going to see the hit points for each different type of worker shown to you in the top left of that spot. So if I want to defeat the termite, I need at least 3 hit points. And then I'm going to get to claim the termite, and it's going to give me 1 point at the end of the game. It might also give me some sort of action or extra benefit here, such as this one right here. I gain a blue warrior whenever I defeat the termite. Now, monsters are going to come in 3 different values. At the beginning of the game, they're level 1 monsters, as denoted by this one little pip here on the right side. And as the game progresses, you're going to come across monsters that are more difficult, such as this Mad Carpenter. He's a level 2, and it takes 6 points to defeat him, but he gives you 3 points. And you get to add this underneath your player board here, and it's going to beef up your blue guys for the rest of the game. So you can see here that this is going to be an extra benefit to your warriors, giving extra bonus to your special different types of workers when you use them in conjunction with the blue warriors. This gelatinous cube also would do the same thing for your knights. It would give another attack value to the knight there. That's how those monsters work. Now, there is a penalty for going to a different quadrant if it's overrun by monsters. You can see here that the blue quadrant has 3 different monsters. And if I go to any one of these spots in the blue villages without attacking a monster, I'm going to have to gain peasants because the peasants are fleeing the monsters and they're coming to you for help. And so that's going to clog up your bag with peasants that aren't very good. So you want to make sure to try to take out these monsters and not have them become overrun. You're always going to have 6 monsters out on the board. Whenever a monster is defeated, you'll take a new one out of this deck over here. And this deck is constructed so that the level 1 monsters are on top of the level 2, and then the level 2 are on top of the level 3. But you also have in that deck Dark Council Arrives cards. Now this is going to denote the 3 different phases of the game because there are going to be 3 of these in the deck. When the first one comes out, everybody has to take an extra corruption, but you also get to increase how many number of workers you take out of the bag. So you'll draw 5 from that point forward. When the second one comes out, you'll have to take another corruption, but you'll get to start drawing 6 workers instead of 5. And when the third one comes out, that is going to denote when you can attack the Dark Council, because the Dark Council arrives. And these guys are big and bad. This guy over here takes 9 to defeat. You get 4 points if you beat him, though. Whereas these guys over here, they're all going to cost you 12 points to defeat, and you can see just what you get if you defeat them. Now, these tokens down here are going to be some that you can assign to these based off of what you dealt at the beginning of the game. You have extra tokens over here. So this is going to change your random setup here and give you extra bonus points if you are able to fulfill whatever is listed on them. Such as if you currently have the lowest number of victory points, you get 3 extra points when you defeat Balsa Doom. And each player can only defeat these once, so you can't just constantly keep attacking this guy. That's the gist of the main game. Whoever has the most points after 2 full rounds once the Dark Council arrives, that's going to be the winner. Now this board over here, as I mentioned, is the solo game, plus it also is the tower expansion. You get extra building tiles, and these are going to go on the darker spots in each quadrant. You are going to get to claim these tiles. There's a little bit of set collection involved in this little expansion to the game. And the way the solo works is you are going to go against a chart here that's going to tell you what the opponent is going to do depending on their turn, what happens, the workers that they have. And it's pretty detailed. I'm not going to be able to explain everything about it, but it tells you everything that the opponent would do on their turn. I did forget real quick that there are quest cards in this game. There's quite a bit in this game. There are quest cards that you are going to have that you're going to try and achieve. If you are able to fulfill what is on the card, you will get the points listed here. If you are not able to do it and you still have that card in your hand, you are going to lose points. And they come in different varieties. Now, for the box insert for this one, you do have a custom insert that's going to hold all the cards and components. However, there's going to be some extra wells in here, and I'm not sure what they're for. The bags and boards do fit nicely on top. You are able to fit the rulebook and everything in place, and it will fit nice. So there you have it. That is Meeples and Monsters. Let's go back up top and share our thoughts on this one.
And we're back, and now we're going to share our thoughts on Meeples and Monsters as a gamer and non-gamer with this one. So Sam, there's a ton of components in this game, and I have to imagine that that can be pretty intimidating if you're somebody who's not used to playing big, lots of component games that take up a bunch of space on the table. Was that the case for you with this one?
Yeah, it was definitely an overwhelming game for a non-gamer. It's a lot to sit down and see all of that. I also really enjoy bag building games.
Okay.
We've played a lot in the past, and it's very enjoyable. This one just felt like a lot.
Okay. And I will agree with that. The setup on this, guys, is quite extensive. You do have quite a few cards. Lots of littler components with this one. You do want to try to separate all the different colors of meeples. And that's pretty standard in bag building games, as you're going to be adding different types of meeples or tokens or whatever the case may be to your bags, and you need to separate those. So you just have to know that. There is an advanced setup with this. I will say I don't know that this game is super rules heavy. It is an easier game to try to explain. You do just have to explain the central market, or not even market, but the central area of actions, the outer area of actions, and then you have your monsters. And besides that, I think the game is pretty easy to learn. Sam, what was it like for you trying to find your way through this game? Was this a game that you felt lost in, or was this a game that you felt like you could kind of sink your teeth in after you understood what you were doing?
I think it was probably middle of the road of both of those.
Okay.
I wasn't so comfortable that I really felt like I knew exactly what I was doing, but it wasn't one of those games where I was thinking, I have no idea what I'm doing. There was a lot to navigate. It wasn't so, like you said, rules heavy that I really had no idea.
Mm-hmm.
But again, there was just a lot to look at, a lot to figure out. And as much of a non-gamer as I am, I've still seen a lot of games.
Sure.
And so that makes I have an advantage to other non-gamers. I think in general, if you were to bring this out with just a real non-gamer that doesn't see a lot of games.
Never seen anything like this. Yeah,
then I don't think this is a win for that specific situation.
For sure. Now, I would be remiss if I did not mention my favorite game of all time, which is a huge bag builder game, and that is Orleans or Orleans. And I feel like anytime you mention bag building, that's the game that's going to get mentioned 100% of the time. It's well known, and it's a lot of people's most favorite bag building game. It's the reason I bought this game or backed the Kickstarter is because it was bag building and because I absolutely love Orleans and really wanted to see that done again in another game of sorts. This is not the same kind of game. Yes, it has bag building. Yes, you're building that bag to get different workers to put on different spots. There's some similarities there, but that's pretty much where the similarities end as far as this game and Orleans. For me, this game doesn't come anywhere close to what excitement and experience that I got from Orleans. It's unfortunate because, and maybe I should not put this game to that standard. I definitely shouldn't put this game to that standard. However, I can't help but do that. It is bag building, and for me, the bar is really high when it comes to that particular mechanic.
And when I think bag building, I think quacks.
Okay. Yeah.
Which
There's
is a very simple. I mean, as far as the mechanics there, it's very simple, and I love it. That's one of our family's favorite games.
Yeah.
And so when I think bag building, I think that, and this just was just a whole lot higher level than that.
Yeah, I will agree totally with that. So there you're seeing it from a gamer and a non-gamer on that end. For me, guys, this was a game that there are some highlights in it, but it takes a lot of effort to get to those points. The box says it's 45 to 60 minutes, and I'll be honest with you, I've not had a game fit that time range. Most of all the games have gone beyond 60 minutes, upwards of 90 minutes. Now, I don't know if I was just playing with some people that were really analysis paralysis. I don't think that was the issue. I think the way some of the tiles have come out, the buildings that we were building, the King of the Hill ones specifically, if you'll watch the rules portion of the video, you know what those are. That just kept the game dragging on and on and on as it stole some of our actions away and really kind of prolonged this game longer than what I felt it needed to be.
And really, if you're going over about 45 minutes with a non-gamer, you're asking a lot of them. That's a lot of time for them to devote to something that they don't love.
Yeah.
So that in itself, not saying it's a bad game, but I don't think this is a good game for non-gamers.
Yeah, I will definitely agree with that, guys. Unfortunately, it's one that I thought could possibly fit in that because of everything that I've already mentioned. I just don't think it's one that really met the mark as far as that goes. Now, strictly from a gamer's perspective on this game, I'm not 100% sold on it, quite honestly. I've played it several times now, and there's not been a game that I've experienced of it where I felt like, yes, that did exactly what I hoped it would do. It just really hasn't hit the mark for me. As I mentioned, it drags on a little long, and it never really quite feels like that excitement that you get where you pull out the right workers that you need to make actions happen on the board to just really feel like you're doing a whole lot. There's not a whole lot of spaces on the board, and you're always paying a penalty if you go to certain spots that have too many monsters. It doesn't really hit me the right way. And unfortunately for me, it's a bit of a disappointment, quite honestly. I hate saying that because I love the look of it. I like the appeal to it. It's the reason why I backed it. It just didn't really fulfill it for me. So I think for this particular video, we're going to change things up a bit. I don't know that we're going to do pros and cons because we've already kind of mentioned that this is a game that's not one that would really work too great for non-gamers. And so this is more of a video for gamers, I suppose. So we're just going to jump straight into our scores on this game. I'll go first on it. For me, this is a game that, as I've already mentioned to you guys, it just didn't hit the mark for me. And so it's going to fall below a 7. I think this is going to be more about a 6.5 for me. I love the look of it. I love the idea of it. It's bag building, and I'm always going to really enjoy that mechanic. It just doesn't hit me the right way. So 6.5 for me. Do you want to give a score on it?
I mean, I want to be transparent that I am definitely scoring it based on as most games, as a non-gamer. And the time commitment, not necessarily the mechanic, but how it plays out. It's just not a good game for non-gamers. I would rate it probably about a 6.
Okay.
But it's just not a good non-gamer game.
Yeah, and I think I would agree with that. So there you have it. That's our thoughts on Meeples and Monsters. Please leave some comments down below. Let us know what you think of this game.
Make sure to like and subscribe and push that bell button so you get notifications of all our new content.
I'm Lance.
I'm Sam.
And we are Love to Hate, where we try to help gamers find great games to play with non-gamers. We'll catch you next time.